Iran, they are being decimated. They are talking, we are talking now. They want to make a deal. Very simply, our military is the greatest in the world by far. Iran is being decimated. Thank you.
Iran has just struck a U.S. military base. American troops are injured, and now Donald Trump is issuing a chilling warning, promising consequences that could change everything. But here's what makes this situation even more dangerous. This isn't just another conflict in the Middle East anymore. Because behind the headlines, behind the statements, and behind the strikes, a much bigger game is unfolding. And if things continue this way, the world could be on the edge of something far more serious than anyone expected. The situation in the Middle East is rapidly spiraling out of control, and what started as a series of strategic strikes is now turning into direct confrontation between powerful nations. Reports confirm that an Iranian attack has targeted a U.S. military base located in Saudi Arabia, causing damage to critical refueling aircraft and injuring several American service members. While official confirmations are still limited, early details suggest that this was not just a warning shot, but a calculated move. This changes everything. Because for the first time in this escalation, U.S. troops are directly affected in a visible and undeniable way. And when American forces are hit, history shows that the response is rarely small. At the same time, the United States, along with Israel, is continuing a relentless aerial assault across Iran. Precision strikes are being carried out daily, targeting military installations, missile storage facilities, and key infrastructure linked to the Iranian regime. According to defense sources, thousands of targets have already been identified, and a significant portion of them has already been destroyed. But here's where things become complicated. Despite these heavy strikes, Iran's capabilities are not completely eliminated. Intelligence reports suggest that Iran has dispersed many of its critical assets, hiding missile systems, relocating command centers, and preparing for a prolonged conflict. This means that even with continuous attacks, the war is far from over. Donald Trump, however, continues to project confidence. In recent statements, he claimed that the United States is dominating the battlefield, even suggesting that Iran lacks sufficient air defense systems. He described the operations as precise and effective, saying that thousands of additional targets remain and could be neutralized quickly. But critics argue that this narrative may not fully reflect the reality on the ground. Because while the U.S. may control the airspace, controlling the outcome of a conflict like this is far more complex. One of the most critical developments right now is the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage is one of the most important oil transit routes in the world. A significant percentage of global oil supply passes through this region. And right now, it is almost completely disrupted. Commercial ships are either being delayed, rerouted, or completely blocked. Insurance costs for shipping companies are rising. Oil prices are reacting. And global markets are beginning to feel the pressure. This is exactly where Iran holds strategic power. Even if it cannot match the U.S. militarily in a direct fight, it can still create global economic disruption. By threatening or controlling key trade routes, Iran can impact economies far beyond the battlefield.
Iran, I know it's tough to engage in hypotheticals, but I feel like this is one that you could engage in if the president does seek...
Probably not, but
we'll see. If the president does seek, or the United States seeks a ground war, does he intend to get congressional authorization of that march?
Look, the president has been asked about boots on the ground or alleged ground operations various times. He's obviously declined to rule them out. It's the Pentagon's job to provide maximum optionality to the president. It does not mean he's made a decision, nor would he ever notify the media of such decision as not to tip off our enemy. With respect to abiding by Congress and the rule of law, that's something the administration will, of course, always do. And it's something that we have great respect for Congress. The president does with military operations. In fact, prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury, as you know, the administration gave a courtesy notice to Congress in the Gang of Eight, and top-level administration officials and cabinet secretaries have gone to Congress multiple times over the past 30 days to provide those courtesy briefings to Congress when requested.
At the same time, the information war is also intensifying. Iranian officials are publicly mocking U.S. claims, accusing Washington of spreading misinformation to manipulate global markets. One senior official even suggested that repeated victory statements are losing credibility, as markets are no longer reacting the same way. But behind these public statements, there are signs of something else. There are growing indications that back-channel negotiations may be taking place. Despite strong words on both sides, there are reports suggesting that communication has not completely broken down. Trump himself has set a deadline, April 6th, for progress to be made. Until then, certain actions, particularly large-scale attacks on energy infrastructure, have been paused. This is a critical detail, because it shows that even in the middle of conflict, diplomacy is still an option. However, time is running out. And as the deadline approaches, pressure is building on all sides. Adding to the complexity, global powers are beginning to play a role in the background. There are increasing reports that Russia may be providing support to Iran in the form of drones and intelligence. If confirmed, this would significantly raise the stakes. Because now, this is no longer just about the US and Iran. This is about influence, power, and control on a global scale. And if more countries get involved, the situation could escalate beyond anything we've seen. So as tensions continue to rise, the next phase of this conflict is becoming more unpredictable with each passing day. Military experts are now openly discussing scenarios that were once considered unlikely. From intensified air campaigns to the possibility of ground operations, every option appears to be on the table. Unconfirmed reports suggest that contingency plans may include deploying thousands of troops if necessary. While no official decision has been announced, the mere discussion of such a move indicates how serious the situation has become. At the same time, Iran is not only responding militarily but also strategically. By focusing on economic pressure points, especially oil and gas markets, it is attempting to shift the balance of power. Rising energy prices are already affecting global economies, creating ripple effects that go far beyond the region. Inside Iran, the leadership is facing one of its most challenging moments. Continuous strikes have put pressure on infrastructure, military systems, and communication networks. However, despite these challenges, the regime appears determined to maintain control. Analysts suggest that the primary objective for Iran right now is survival. Keeping the system intact, maintaining internal stability, and avoiding total collapse. But achieving that is becoming increasingly difficult as the conflict intensifies. On the other side, the United States has clear strategic goals. These include limiting Iran's missile capabilities, preventing further nuclear development, and reducing its influence across the region. However, achieving these goals is not straightforward. Even after significant damage, Iran still retains capabilities that make it a formidable opponent. Its decentralized military structure, regional alliances, and strategic positioning all contribute to its resilience. And then there is the diplomatic dimension. Despite aggressive actions, there are still signals that both sides may be exploring the possibility of a negotiated outcome. Trump's decision to delay certain high-impact strikes suggests that there is still room for dialogue. But this window is narrowing rapidly. Experts warn that the coming days could determine the direction of this conflict. If no agreement is reached by the deadline, the next phase could involve far more aggressive actions, potentially changing the entire nature of the war. And if that happens, the consequences will not be limited to one region. Global trade routes could be disrupted. Energy supplies could become unstable. And international relations could enter a period of uncertainty. Right now, the world is watching closely. Every statement, every strike, and every move is being analyzed. Because everyone understands one thing. This is not just another conflict. This is a turning point. And what happens next could define the future of global stability.